All right, we got our second championship case of the day, number 15 of 16, only 2 to go. Later tonight, I guess that'll be tonight at the point I make it, we'll do Martin Truex Jr., but for now we're going to talk about Ty Gibbs, his 2024 season to date, and his chances in the NASCAR playoffs. He's currently the number 15 seed on the grid. He does have 2 stage wins, 7 top 5s, 11 top 10s, no wins. He's one of the 2 winless drivers in this thing. He has led 352 laps this season, a lot of laps led, and he did end up finishing in the top 10 in the NASCAR Cup Series regular season standings to get him some more bonus points. He has 4 bonus points. Point number 1, get bonus points, as many as you can. No such thing as too many. Ty Gibbs is going to be in a tight point situation for the majority of the playoffs unless he can pick up some wins. And when we look at this first round, there's one track I want to focus on later. It's the final track, Bristol. But first, Atlanta. He's only raced at Atlanta 3 times, but 2 top 10s at Atlanta, and it's been the super speedway era. So not bad. Not if he can do that, he's got a pretty darn good chance getting into that second round if he can survive and get a top 10, because these next 2 tracks are really good for Ty Gibbs. Ty Gibbs is a pretty solid road racer. He's gotten top 5s, top 10s. In fact, he got a top 5 at Watkins Glen last year, along with stage points, top 5 stage points in both the stages. And you got to remember, that was without the cautions at the end of the stages. So he genuinely ran top 5 all race. Then we go to Bristol. Bristol is his best track. He's led 100 plus laps in the last 2 races there. He swept the stages in the spring. He finished 9th in the spring, 5th in the fall last year. So Ty Gibbs at Bristol has been fantastic. Something about that track just fits his style. We've seen how well his teammate Denny Hamlin has done. He's won the last 2 races there. How well Truex has done, Bell has done, and Ty Gibbs has added to those numbers. And the first career win could very well happen at Bristol. Just has to manage his tires a little bit better at the end, unlike the spring. So Ty Gibbs winning at Bristol is very realistic. And in fact, with Watkins Glen and Bristol, I think if he can run as well as he's expected to, he can afford a bad race at Atlanta. I know he doesn't have the points, but top 5s at those 2 races, I think that gets him through. Then we go to the second race, or the second round, and that first race is Kansas, and Ty Gibbs' Kansas finishes aren't great, 32nd, 14th, 34th, 34th, but he did finish top 10 in both stages in the spring, and Toyota has a great history at Kansas with Denny Hamlin, Tyler Reddick, Bubba Wallace winning there, even Kurt Busch. So Ty Gibbs is going to be a factor in terms of getting a top 10, maybe even a top 5. You look at how well he ran at Vegas earlier this year, but a win's going to be tough, but I think a top 10 is realistic, maybe even a top 5. Then we go to Talladega, and his best finish is 22nd, so not as good as Atlanta, but he was a factor in the spring of 23 before he ran out of gas. And then we go to the final race at the Roval, and he got a top 5 in this race last year. So once again, I think he's going to have to bank on 2 races, though unlike that first round, I don't think he can afford a bad race at Talladega here. I think if he can get a top 10 at Kansas, if he can get a top 15 at Talladega, and then a top 5, top 7 maybe at the Roval, I think that could get him through. And you got to remember, he's in Joe Gibbs Racing equipment too, so he could win any given week. So Ty Gibbs, if he can do that, he will advance to the round of 8. And just like I've said with everyone else, with less than 5 playoff points, 7 playoff points, it's going to be a must-win. Now, unlike Daniel Suarez, Austin Cindric, unlike even who we just talked about, Chase Briscoe, Ty Gibbs could maybe run with those guys up front like Denny Hamlin, William Byron, Kyle Larson, Tyler Reddick. He could maybe, but I still think he's going to get outran by those guys, so it's going to come down to needing a win. He ran top 5 at Vegas in the spring. As I said earlier, Homestead, he got a top 10 in this race last year, scored stage points. Martinsville, his results haven't been great yet. So I'm going to say Vegas. I think Vegas is his best shot to win and go to the championship with how well he ran in the spring, how well Truex, Reddick, Hamlin all ran in the spring. I think that's what it's going to take is a win at Vegas. Realistically, any of those races, but Vegas is his best shot. And if he gets to Phoenix, remember how well Toyota ran in Phoenix. In fact, Ty Gibbs in that Phoenix race in the spring led 57 laps, finished third in that race, started second, ran up front all day long. Ty Gibbs could be a factor if he gets to that championship four because of how well Toyota did in the spring. They've struggled at this track historically, but with this new Toyota body, it seems like they figured something out there in the spring, and they are going to be maybe the favorite when they get to Phoenix if they have cars in there. And if it's Ty Gibbs, he's got a great shot. So Ty Gibbs, only his second year in the Cup Series, looking to shock the world, go from 0 wins to a Cup championship here in the next 10 weeks. But Ty Gibbs, it's been a decent season for him so far. Top 10 in the points. Can he pull off? And it would be an upset run to win the championship. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. We'll finish up this series later this afternoon with Martin Truex Jr., the last one I'll ever do for Martin Truex Jr. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you guys for the Martin Truex Jr. video.